My name is Rachel and I'm 28 years old. And the night my sister told me to get out and find another table because adopted girls don't belong with family was the night everything broke. I want you to picture this. A fancy Italian restaurant. White tablecloths. Low lighting. That kind of place where they pronounce the pasta dishes in Italian and the wine list is thicker than a phone book. I'm sitting there in a dress I bought specifically for this dinner, nervous because I haven't seen most of these people in months. My adoptive parents. My sister Jennifer. Her husband. Some cousins. An uncle. All gathered for what was supposed to be my father's retirement celebration. And I'm sitting there, trying to smile, trying to fit in like I've been trying my entire life. 28 years of trying. 28 years of reading the room. 28 years of wondering if today would be the day I finally felt like I belonged. Then Jennifer stands up, right in the middle of the appetizer course. She's had 2 glasses of wine, maybe 3, and her face has that flush it gets when she's about to say something cruel and pretend it's a joke. She looks at me, and her voice cuts through the low murmur of the restaurant like a knife. Rachel, why don't you go find another table? This is a family dinner. Family. You know what that means, right? Blood. Real connections. Not whatever this charity case situation is. The table goes silent. Not the kind of silence where people are shocked and about to defend you. No. The kind of silence where everyone's holding their breath to see if someone else will laugh first, so they can join in without being the bad guy. And then my mother laughs. My adoptive mother. The woman who's supposed to love me. She actually laughs and says, "Jennifer, you're terrible." But she's smiling when she says it. Smiling. My father doesn't even look at me. He just cuts his bruschetta and chews slowly, like I'm not even there. Like his daughter didn't just tell me to leave the table. Like I'm not sitting there with my hands shaking in my lap, trying not to cry in front of 17 people who are all staring at me now. Jennifer sits back down, satisfied. She picks up her wine glass and takes a long sip, and someone changes the subject. Just like that. They start talking about the weather, about golf, about Jennifer's kids and their soccer tournament last weekend. And I'm sitting there, completely erased. This story gets intense, so stay with me. And before we go deeper, hit like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. New York? Texas? California? Because what happens next, you're not going to believe it. I made it through dinner. Somehow. I sat there for 2 more hours, barely touching my food, while they laughed and talked around me like I was a piece of furniture. An inconvenient chair they had to navigate around to pass the breadbasket. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? I kept thinking maybe someone would say something. Maybe my cousin Sarah, who I used to be close with. Maybe Uncle Tom, who always seemed kind. Maybe my father would finally look at me and tell Jennifer she'd gone too far. But nobody did. When the waiter came with the check, he walked straight past my father at the head of the table. Walked straight past Jennifer and her husband. He placed that black leather folder right in front of me. $2,500. For 17 people. For a dinner I barely ate. For an evening where I was told I don't belong. And you know what I did? I paid it. I took out my credit card, the one I'd been saving on for months because I'd just started my new job and I was finally getting financially stable, and I paid the entire bill. Without a word. Without asking anyone to chip in. Because somewhere deep inside me, in that broken place that's been broken since I was 7 years old and first realized I was different, I thought maybe if I paid, they'd love me. Maybe if I was generous enough, kind enough, quiet enough, invisible enough, expensive enough, maybe then I'd be worth keeping. The waiter took my card, processed it, brought back the receipt. I signed it with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. And then I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out of that restaurant while they were still sitting there, probably already forgetting I existed. I stood outside on the sidewalk, and the Los Angeles air was cold for September. I was shaking. Not from the temperature. From something deeper. From 28 years of this feeling, this persistent, gnawing, soul-destroying feeling that I am not enough. That I will never be enough. That no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, I will always be the adopted girl. The charity case. The one who doesn't really belong. And for the first time in my life, Standing there on that sidewalk with cars rushing past and couples walking by holding hands and the world just continuing like my heart wasn't shattering into a million pieces. I realized something. I realized that I've been trying to earn a place in a family that never intended to give me one. You want to know what the worst part is? It's not the big moments. It's not Jennifer telling me to leave the table, as awful as that was. It's the 28 years of small moments that led up to it. It's the family photos where I'm always on the end, easy to crop out. It's the birthday parties where Jennifer got a car and I got a card with $20 in it. It's the college fund they had for her that they told me they couldn't afford for me while she went to a private university and I worked 3 jobs to get through community college. It's my mother introducing Jennifer as my daughter and me as Rachel to strangers. It's the Christmas mornings where her stocking was stuffed and mine had some drugstore candy and socks. It's every single time I tried to call them mom and dad and felt the words stick in my throat because I could feel that they didn't want me to. That it made them uncomfortable. That I was supposed to be grateful just to have a roof over my head and food on my plate and not ask for anything as inconvenient as love. I'm standing there on the sidewalk and I'm crying now and I don't even care who sees me. Let them see. Let the whole world see. Let them see what 28 years of being unwanted does to a person. And then I hear a voice behind me. Rachel. I turn around, and it's Aunt Lorraine. My father's aunt. A woman I've maybe seen 5 times in my entire life. She's older, probably in her 70s, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, and these sharp, intelligent eyes that seem to see right through you. She wasn't at the dinner. At least I didn't see her there. I was at a table across the restaurant, she says quietly, and her voice is calm. Steady. Nothing like the chaos inside me. I saw what happened. I try to wipe my face, try to pull myself together, but it's useless. The tears won't stop. I'm fine, I say, because that's what I've been trained to say. That's what I've been saying my whole life. I'm fine. I'm okay.
Don't worry about me.
I don't need anything. I'm fine. No, you're not, Lorraine says, and there's no pity in her voice. No sympathy. Just fact. And you don't have to be.
Come with me.
You're staying at my house tonight. We need to talk. It's not a suggestion. It's not an offer. It's a statement. And something about the firmness in her voice, the absolute certainty, makes me nod. Makes me follow her to her car. Makes me get in the passenger seat and buckle my seatbelt while she drives through the dark Los Angeles streets toward a house I've never been to.
We don't talk during the drive.
She doesn't ask me if I'm okay. She doesn't tell me everything will be fine. She just drives, and somehow that's exactly what I need. No performance. No pretending. Just silence and movement, and the understanding that tonight I don't have to be anything for anyone. When we get to her house, a beautiful craftsman in Pasadena with a garden that, even in the dark I can tell, is meticulously maintained, she shows me to a guest room. Clean sheets. A lamp that gives off warm light. A window that looks out onto the garden. Get some sleep, she says. Tomorrow morning, someone's coming to see you. A lawyer. My lawyer. There are things you need to know. Things they've kept from you for a very long time. And then she closes the door and leaves me there, and I'm so exhausted, so emotionally destroyed, that I fall asleep in my dress on top of the covers. I fall asleep, and I dream of nothing, which is a mercy. The next morning, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the window and the smell of coffee. I change into some clothes Lorraine left for me, simple, comfortable things that fit reasonably well, and I go downstairs. There's a man sitting at the kitchen table. 50s, maybe. Gray suit. Briefcase beside his chair. He stands when I enter and extend his hand. Rachel. I'm David Nguyen. I've been Mrs. Huntington's attorney for 20 years. Please sit down. Lorraine pours me coffee. Sets it in front of me with cream and sugar. Sits down across from me with her own cup. And David opens his briefcase and pulls out a folder. A thick folder. And he slides it across the table to me. Before you were adopted by Charles and Patricia Morrison, he says, and his voice is gentle but clear. Your biological family set up an education trust fund in your name. It was substantial. $50,000, to be exact. Held in a trust, To be released for your education expenses starting at age 18 and continuing through graduate school if you chose to pursue it. I stare at the folder. I can't move. I can't breathe. The Morrisons were made fully aware of this fund when they adopted you. It was part of the adoption agreement. They were to be the trustees of the fund until you turned 18, at which point they were to inform you of its existence and help you access it for college. He pauses, opens the folder, shows me documents, bank statements, withdrawal records. My name is on them. My name. But I've never seen any of this before in my life. They never told you, did they? David asks, though it's not really a question. I shake my head. My hands are trembling. I set down my coffee cup before I spill it. They withdrew funds starting when you were 12 years old, David continues, and now his voice has an edge to it. Anger. Controlled, professional anger, but anger nonetheless. Small amounts at first. A few thousand here and there. Marked as educational expenses for you. But by the time you turned 18, the entire fund was empty. He shows me more papers. Records of withdrawals. I see the dates. The amounts. $50,000 gone over 6 years. And next to each withdrawal, a notation. Educational expenses. Tutoring.
Books.
Academic enrichment. But I never had a tutor. I never went to academic enrichment programs. I went to public school and studied in the library and worked part-time at a grocery store to save money for community college. We've done some investigating, David says. Cross-reference the withdrawal dates with family records and social media posts. We can connect almost every withdrawal to an expense for Jennifer. Private SAT prep courses. A summer program in France. College application consultants. Her first year's tuition at USC before their own savings kicked in. The room spins. I grip the edge of the table. They stole from me, I whisper. Yes, David says simply. They did. For 6 years, they systematically drained your education fund to pay for their biological daughter's opportunities while telling you they couldn't afford to help with your college expenses. Lorraine reaches across the table and takes my hand. Her grip is firm.
Strong.
This is why I brought you here, she says. Not just to tell you what they did, but to tell you that you don't have to accept it. You have options. Legal options. And I have resources. And I want you to know that what happened to you was not okay.
It was never okay.
And you deserve to know the truth. Pause for a second. If you're still watching, you're part of the 10% who care about real stories. Subscribe, or at least tell me in the comments why you're choosing not to. Because what I'm about to tell you next, this is where everything explodes. I spent 3 days at Lorraine's house, reading through documents, talking to David, trying to process the magnitude of what had been done to me. $50,000. My money. Money that was supposed to give me opportunities. Money that could have changed my life.
Gone.
Stolen. Used to make Jennifer's life easier while I struggled. And the more I learned, the angrier I got. Not the quiet, swallowed anger I'd been carrying my whole life. Real anger. The kind that burns hot and clear and righteous. The kind that says this was wrong and someone needs to answer for it. On the 4th day, my phone starts blowing up. Text messages. Social media notifications. I open Facebook and I see it. A post from my mother, Patricia Morrison.
And it's about me.
It breaks my heart to share this, but our adopted daughter Rachel has been making horrible accusations against our family. After all we've done for her, after opening our home and our hearts, she's now claiming we owe her money and threatening legal action. We gave her everything. We loved her like our own. And this is how she repays us. Please pray for our family during this difficult time. The comments are already rolling in. Friends of theirs, people from their church, neighbors, all of them expressing sympathy. All of them saying how ungrateful I must be. How sad it is when adopted children turn on the families who saved them. I'm shaking again, but this time it's different. This time I'm not sad. I'm furious. They posted this an hour ago, Lorraine says, looking at her own phone. It's already been shared 40 times. They're trying to control the narrative, David says. Get ahead of any legal action by painting you as vindictive and unstable. It's a calculated move. My phone rings. Unknown number. I answer it. Is this Rachel Morrison? Yes. Hi, Rachel. My name is Melissa Chen. I run a blog called The Real Story LA. It focuses on family law issues and personal accounts of injustice. I saw your mother's post, and something about it didn't sit right with me. I'd like to hear your side. Would you be willing to talk? I look at Lorraine. She nods. Yes, I say. I would. We set up an interview for 2 days later. Melissa wants to do it on camera. A recorded video interview that she'll post on her blog and her YouTube channel, which apparently has a pretty substantial following. People who care about stories like mine. People who want to hear the truth. I'm nervous. Terrified, actually. I've spent my whole life trying to be quiet, trying not to make waves, trying not to be a problem. And now I'm about to go on camera and tell the world what my adoptive family did to me. But Lorraine looks me in the eye the night before the interview and says, silence protects them, not you. If you stay quiet, their version becomes the only version. Is that what you want? And I realize it's not. I'm done protecting people who never protected me. The interview is set up in a small studio Melissa rents. Professional lighting. A camera. 2 chairs facing each other. She's younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and a notebook full of questions. We start filming. She asks me about my adoption, about growing up in the Morrison house, about the dinner, about the trust fund. And I tell her everything. Every painful detail. Every small cruelty. Every moment of being made to feel less than. I'm halfway through explaining the financial documents when the studio door slams open. Jennifer. She's there, red-faced and furious, and I don't know how she found out about this interview, but she's here and she's screaming. You're lying. You're a liar, Rachel. After everything we did for you. Melissa stands up. Ma'am, this is a private recording session. You need to leave. Private? You're making a hit piece about my family, and you think I'm just going to let that happen? I have every right to be here. I have every right to defend us. The camera is still rolling. Melissa doesn't turn it off. She's smart enough to know this is important. Fine, Melissa says calmly. You can respond. Tell us your side. And Jennifer, in her rage, in her absolute certainty that she's right, starts talking. And she says the one thing that seals their fate. That money was basically payment for raising someone who wasn't really ours. My parents took her in when nobody else wanted her. They fed her, clothed her, gave her a home. And that trust fund? That was compensation for the burden of raising someone else's child. They earned that money. They deserved it more than she did. The room goes silent. Even Jennifer seems to realize what she just said. Her face pales. That's not. I didn't mean, but it's too late. The camera caught everything. Every word. Every damning, incriminating, cruel word. I think you should leave now, Melissa says quietly. Jennifer looks at me. For a second, I see something like fear in her eyes. And then she turns and walks out, and I hear her car peel out of the parking lot. If you're still here right now, you're invested. Do me a favor, subscribe. And if you won't, at least comment why. I'm genuinely curious. Because what happens next? It's justice. And it's brutal. Melissa posts the interview 3 days later. The full interview, including Jennifer's meltdown. Within 12 hours, it has 50,000 views. Within a week, 500,000. It gets picked up by larger channels. People start commenting, sharing, expressing outrage at what was done to me. The Morrison family's social media posts get flooded. Not with sympathy anymore. With anger. With people demanding answers. With other adopted children sharing their own stories of financial abuse. My mother deletes her Facebook post, but people have already screenshot it. It's everywhere now. The contrast between her version and mine. Between her sweet, wounded mother act and the documented evidence of theft. David files a civil suit 2 weeks after the interview posts. We're suing for the return of the full $50,000 plus interest plus damages for emotional distress. We have the bank records. We have the adoption agreement that clearly states the trust fund was for my education only. We have Jennifer's confession on camera. It takes 6 months to get to court. 6 months of waiting. 6 months of my family trying to contact me, trying to apologize, trying to convince me to drop the suit. But their apologies ring hollow. They're not sorry for what they did. They're sorry they got caught. I blocked their numbers, their emails, their social media accounts. I don't owe them my attention anymore. The hearing is in downtown Los Angeles. Superior Court. The room is smaller than I expected. The judge is a woman in her 60s with gray hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks tired, like she's seen too many cases like this. Too many families destroying each other over money and cruelty and lies. David presents our case methodically. The adoption agreement, the trust fund documents, the withdrawal records, the timeline showing how the money disappeared while Jennifer got opportunity after opportunity and I got nothing. And then he plays the video. Jennifer's confession. That money was basically payment for raising someone who wasn't really ours. I watch the judge's face. Watch her expression shift from neutral to disturbed. The Morrison family's lawyer tries to argue that the trust fund was ambiguously worded, that my parents acted in good faith, that Jennifer's statement was taken out of context. But the judge isn't buying it. I can see it in her eyes. When she delivers her ruling, her voice is sharp,
Clear.
angry. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of financial exploitation I've seen. The trust fund was explicitly designated for the minor child's education. The adoptive parents violated that trust repeatedly and systematically. Their attempts to justify this behavior are not only legally insufficient, but morally reprehensible. She orders them to repay the full amount, $50,000, plus interest calculated from the date of the first withdrawal. It comes to $78,000 total, plus court costs, plus my legal fees. Furthermore, the judge says, I'm ordering this ruling to be made part of the public record with a notation about the nature of the exploitation. Adoption is a sacred trust. You violated that trust in the worst possible way. My father tries to speak. The judge cuts him off. I've heard enough from you. Pay the judgment. Consider yourselves fortunate this is a civil matter and not a criminal one. We leave the courthouse. David is satisfied. Lorraine is vindicated. And me? I feel empty. Not happy. Not victorious. Just empty. Because even though I won, even though they're being held accountable, it doesn't change the fact that they never loved me. Money can be repaid. Years of emotional neglect can't. The fallout is immediate. My father's retirement community doesn't want the publicity. He's quietly asked to resign from his position on the board. My mother loses her spot in her book club when the other members decide they don't want to be associated with someone who financially abused their adopted child. Jennifer's husband's law firm partner suggests he might want to look for opportunities elsewhere. Their reputations are destroyed. Not by me. By their own actions. By Jennifer's confession. By years of cruelty finally being exposed to the light. They try to contact me one more time. Through a lawyer. Not to apologize. To ask if I'll agree to remove the video. Take down the interview. Help repair their image. I don't even respond. 6 months after the court ruling, Lorraine gets sick. Pancreatic cancer. Aggressive. The doctors give her 6 months, maybe a year if she's lucky. She gets 8 months. I'm with her at the end, holding her hand in a hospice room that smells like antiseptic and flowers. She's the only person in my adoptive family who ever saw me. Really saw me. Who ever protected me. You're going to be okay, she whispers. Her voice is weak, but her grip on my hand is still firm. You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. Stronger than you give yourself credit for. I don't feel strong, I tell her.
You are.
You survived them. You exposed them. You stood up for yourself. That's strength. She passes that night. Quietly. Peacefully. At the reading of her will, I discover she's left me everything. Her house. Her savings. Her investments. It's not a fortune, but it's substantial. More than I ever expected. More than I deserve from someone I barely knew. But there's a letter too, written in her shaky handwriting. Rachel, Use this to build something good. Something that honors the child you were and the woman you've become. Don't let their cruelty define you. Let your resilience define you instead. Love, Lorraine. I used part of the inheritance to start a small nonprofit, the Lorraine Huntington Foundation for Adopted Youth. We provide financial counseling, legal support, and mentorship for kids who grew up in adoption or foster care. We help them understand their rights. We help them access resources. We help them know they're not alone. It's small. Just me and 2 part-time employees working out of a rented office in Pasadena. But we've already helped 37 kids in our first year. 37 kids who won't go through what I went through. Who will know they have value. Who will know they deserve better. My adoptive family tries to contact me one more time. Not my parents. Jennifer. She sends an email. No apology. Just a request. Her oldest daughter is starting to apply to colleges. Would I be willing to help with application fees? I delete it without responding. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm just done. They're not my family. They never were. And I don't owe them anything. Not my money. Not my time. Not my emotional energy. Not even my anger. I'm 30 years old now. I have an apartment I love in Pasadena. A job that matters. A life that's mine. I'm dating someone kind. Someone who thinks I'm extraordinary. Someone who doesn't need me to earn my place in their life. I don't think about the Morrisons much anymore. Sometimes I see updates through mutual acquaintances. My father's health is declining. Jennifer got divorced. My mother moved to Arizona. I don't feel satisfaction hearing these things. I don't feel vindicated. I just feel nothing. They're strangers to me now. Strangers who once had power over me but don't anymore. Sometimes people ask me if I regret exposing them. If I regret the lawsuit. If I wish I'd handled it all differently, more privately, more quietly. And my answer is always the same.
No.
Because staying quiet would have meant they won. It would have meant accepting that I was worthless, that I didn't deserve better, that their version of events was the truth. And I'm done accepting things that aren't true. I was never worthless. I was never a burden. I was never lucky just to have been taken in. I was a child who deserved to be loved. And when I didn't get that, I was a woman who deserved justice. And I got it. If this story hit you anywhere in the heart, subscribe. And if you won't, write in the comments what's stopping you. I read every one. Because here's what I want you to understand. This isn't just my story. This is the story of every adopted kid who is made to feel grateful just for existing. Every foster child who was told they should be happy with the bare minimum. Every person who was raised in a family that made them feel like love was something they had to earn rather than something they deserved freely. You don't have to earn love. You never did. And if the people who were supposed to love you made you feel like you did, that's their failure, not yours. That's what I learned. That's what Lorraine taught me in those 8 months we had together. That's what I want every person watching this to know. You are not the problem. You never were. And you don't owe your abusers your silence. My name is Rachel. I'm 30 years old. And the night my sister told me to get out and find another table was the night everything broke. But it was also the night everything started to heal. Because sometimes things have to break completely before you can build something better from the pieces. And I did. I'm still doing it. Every single day. This is my story. Thanks for listening.